There is food right there. So
money!
Gotta go bed the barn. Haven't done that for 4 days because we've had a nice breeze. But hey, good morning. It's your girl Andrea. We are, if you watched the previous video, you know what's happening today. We are shipping some chubbies, aka some fat cattle, some finished cattle, whatever else the slang is. We call them fat cattle, which isn't really the nicest term, but it's all right. They're cows. Trucks will be here like 10:30. It's like 9 right now. They'll probably be here in an hour, I would think. So before we get into the fun of loading cattle, we got some more chickens this spring, and I ordered through Meyer's Hatchery, and there were some free ones, so we got 2 roosters. I gotta sort them out, and then we're gonna move the hens over into the other building. That way they know how to get inside where the food and water is, and then they can go outside, blah blah blah. But that's a rooster, and we don't want fertilized eggs, so there's 2 of them in here, I believe, that do their little cock-a-doodle-doo. Yeah, he's right there. So they're gonna stay out here, and they're probably gonna get the at some point. I used to be chased by roosters as a kid, so I'm terrified of them when they're mean. These ones are little babies yet, so I think we're all right. But still, it's not it, man. It's not it. Too scared, huh? Too scared, huh?
It's just your rooster behind you. There you go.
Yay, one in.
You chase the rooster, other rooster to me. I got one back here I can keep it.
Well, I'm trying not to get attacked by a rooster, so.
Rooster out.
We did it. Woo-woo. This is an old farrowing barn we use. Fun fact.
Come on, ladies.
Oh wow, it's open! Look at that. Freedom.
Nice. Feed in there for him.
Are you guys all inside? It's scary in here. Chickens moved. They're almost always early. Except for that one time that I banked on them being early, and they were not at all. They were like actually 15 minutes late. Gotta get our 2 in the sore pen out of here. I think so too. So they're not going because they're not finished, and we're still helping them through the one's must have an abscess on his foot. But I think those 2 will be ones that we'll probably end up butchering for ourselves and like local friends and family in the area that want like a quarter of beef type of deal. So we got 39, we're gonna do 3, 15, 15, 6. Someone remember that so when I forget. 3, 15, 15, 6. We need 18 across for sure. We need 18 across for sure. Do you want to stand here and let me kind of push them out, or?
Will they come with just one person?
We'll find out. They should. Okay. All right, boys and girls, let's go. Come on, boys. Let's go. Pep. That heifer is food right there. Come on, boys. Just gotta get them started. Dad's counting to 18, so. Pep. I doubt he's counting now. Yeah. Did you count? No. Of course not. I told you to count to 18.
No, I can't count. You'd already know that.
You got 3?
2.
All right, I need 3. Just watch the gate with the ones behind you.
Hey, hey, hey.
Ready? All right. Hey, let's go. Come on, up. There you go. Up. Up.
Yeah.
Hey, hey.
Come on. Push him.
Good job, boys. Up. Let's go. Come on.
There it is.
Power on.
Loading. Not the best loading, but it was loading.
Yeah, still keeping.
All right, chubbies are loaded. 39 headed to JBS in Grand Island, Nebraska. That's where those are going. That's who placed the highest bid, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But so we use a shock prod when loading, right? And I do not like to actually use it unless it's absolutely needed. Sometimes fats just like lock up and they won't move, and they're 1,500 pounds. You're not gonna get them to move, right? So you give them a little tingle, they usually move. So the trucker came and he was just a little trigger happy with it. And it wasn't like bad, but I didn't want them to all be shocked unless they absolutely needed it. So then I said something and then he stopped completely. But some of the pains in the butts were in this load, so it was kind of fun to get them out of here. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. That's what that is right there. Excited, are you?
Happy.
He should be thrilled because
Money!
comparison, when I came home from college, we were like, oh wow, we're getting close to 2,000 bucks a piece for them. That's so exciting. And today it's like well over 3 grand. Granted, we paid more for them, but
Gone from a $100,000 load to this should almost be $150,000.
yeah. So like last year, we broke 106 figures on a truckload, right? This is probably 140 some, depending on their weights. We gotta feed the fats. They had some feed left. I made them clean up before that, so now we're gonna feed them like 3/4 of a load. It was hot yesterday, and it's gonna be hot today, but we were talking about the feed. So the ground hay is starting to it's getting warm in the center, so we're trying to pull the center out, feed it. It's still pretty safe. It's kind of like fermented hay now, but sometimes it does that when it's a little bit wet. So whether that's corn stalks doing that have moisture in them, or the rye, or a combo, but the more you know. Your last year kid and your sibling went today. It's pretty cool to see which ones are kind of shipping earlier than others. There's a whole handful, hodgepodge, of what were calves out of first calvers last year, so first calf heifers, which is pretty exciting that a heifer can raise a calf that does that well. But it also proves that heterosis crossbreeding within the beef industry. So Simmental and Angus for us works, and we're keeping the right replacements to add into the herd that are kind of superior to their moms and everyone else going on, that their calves are finishing first, getting the biggest, that type of deal. So the more you know. I don't know what I'm doing. I need to make sure everyone looks good. And then there was a good chunk of those purchased calves. So that load was probably, I'd say 50-50 home raised and purchased. So pretty good mix. We got some good genetics that we purchased. There were some white tags that were pretty big when they came, and they finished out really nice, and a lot of them went today. And some other ones from somebody's herd here and there, because we, if you're new here, you haven't watched those videos, we buy somewhat higher risk calves. Essentially they're just smaller groups grouped together, which sometimes can create a higher risk situation. Sometimes they're ballers, which means they weren't weaned before they got on the truck, so then they're stressed on that, and you just gotta kind of babysit them a little bit more, keep an eye on them. So when we hodgepodge groups together, you're getting some of those germs from, you know, let's say 5, 6, 7 different operations versus getting an entire load from one ranch. There's just some of that risk, but the group's been pretty good for us. So if you remember, we bought $200,000 worth of calves last year, which is terrifying. And you're like, I hope the markets stay up. And we did use some risk protection with LRP to, you know, lock in the bottom in case they did go dive on some of them. We didn't do everyone, but it was there just in case the market went boop, so we wouldn't lose a lot of money per head. So, but anyways, that's kind of the method of the madness. There was 9 heifers, 30 steers that went. And we have another load or two that'll be on the docket here pretty quick. And it's crazy that these little guys will be ready to go in a year or two. Wild, man. Say hi! Surprise! We have 2 little baby goats. They were planned, they're just little. So that way with the flowers, we have some baby goats to entertain the people. Hi, puppies. And of course, if you remember kidding, they're all boys. All boys again. Fat cattle, first load of the year. So we have mama cows, right? And every single animal on the place will stay with us until they're into the next phase of life, which sometimes is the final phase of life, or in the case of like replacement heifers, their next phase of life is becoming a mama in our herd, right? Or the next phase of life for them beyond that is a cull cow. But we feed everything we raise out, and we also purchase additional calves from the outside. Generally out of, you know, northern Minnesota, Wisconsin area. Like I said, we try to kind of get some of those higher risk, smaller groups, hodgepodge them together, a little bit cheaper than around here. Not quite as cheap as recently. They're not quite as cheap this year and last year as they were prior to that, just because cattle markets are at a high, so they were spendy, but we're still in the green making profit on them. So it's really exciting to see them go, especially those home raised genetics, seeing everything. So these calves that went were not AI calves, but next year will be, so that'll be even more exciting to see, you know, the individual matings that I did, kind of how that goes as sire groups versus our own bulls. There's just more potential for like superior genetics and matches that can kind of do things a little bit differently without buying a bull that's super expensive. AI is one of those things where most of those AI bulls are very expensive bulls that you can get semen from for, you know, 30 bucks a pop, versus spending 20-30 grand on a bull, which doesn't make sense from a commercial standpoint. But we can go buy those $5,000-$6,000 bulls to run cleanup and run some really good genetics and AI, and for those that settle and all that jazz. So that'll be like a next year conversation, but I kind of just wanted to touch on that because that'll be like the whole next exciting thing coming. But like I said, these guys, when you look at the dollars, the prices of where they're at right now, you know, bids are anywhere in the $225 to $240, $45 maybe range, depending on the week and stuff. So when you're looking at a 1,500 pound critter, they're usually $3,400, $3,500, $3,600 a piece. That does not mean that we are making that much profit, right? There is a lot of money that goes into buying them. You know, last fall we bought them for, let me just pull this up. Okay, so last year we bought them for like $1,900 a piece, $1,850 per head. So automatically that's gonna eat up half of what we're selling them for. Then you're gonna have your feed interest because they're on an operating loan. Feed interest is also in there. You have your vet and med. Bedding, yardage costs, which yardage is consisting of like labor, equipment, any of like the building costs with the barn. Obviously any like concrete, new gates, those wheels that we redid yesterday, all of that jazz adds up. So, you know, we're still gonna make some money on these guys because the market's at a high and we're very thankful for that, but there's years where we're not making a lot of money per head. So your goal is always to try to make, you know, 50 to 100 bucks a head. Some years it's well over that. Some years you're getting by the skin of your teeth. That just kind of depends on supply and demand. So when we sell these critters, right, historically the packers have been making a lot more money than the producers. Right now things are a little bit tighter for the packers, which is exciting for us because for so long they were kind of the bullies that, I'm not trying to like talk crap, but they were making a lot of money on their side of things. Once they buy these animals and they process them, they are selling so many cuts that they are making well over 3,500 bucks a pop. So there's just a lot that goes into that. That's a whole like rabbit hole we could go down. That's not really my expertise, but just know that, I know someone was like, can you make a video on like where your income comes from or like how farmers actually make money, and I can work on that this summer. But right now, if you look at the agriculture industry as a whole, the one industry within that is actually doing well currently is cattle. Pork is, I think they're doing all right, but not anything great. Crop prices are not phenomenal whatsoever, and we've had really high input costs, so you're not really making a lot of money there. You know, if good old Donnie can get our prices to pop up, that'll help, but $4 corn's not doing a lot. But when you can feed $4 corn that you've grown to cattle, you can get a lot of ROI on your corn that way because their cost of gain's cheap because corn is cheap. So it's just the whole thing of like the markets are on this cycle, and cattle are what they say on like a 10-year cycle. We're at the high. We just don't know when that high is going to kind of start to come back down. If it's going to go as low as it has before, they don't really think so, but you never know. So there's just a lot that goes into it, but there's a lot of dollar bills that left on that truck today, which is exciting to pay some stuff off. You're in farming, we don't get a steady paycheck, and we'll talk about this more in the whole like how do farmers actually make money. We don't have a monthly automatic like deposit coming in. We kind of have a seasonal profit, right? So we are selling fat cattle now from usually July, August, September, October. So we're gonna have income coming in. Then there's not a lot happening outside of like some cull cows here and there. Dad will sell grain depending on kind of what the markets are doing. He did a little bit, I think, in January with that, but this is the time of the year where there's actually money coming in to kind of like pay some of the bills and all that jazz, because yeah, you got chemical, seed, feed, vet, cattle expenses, interest, payments on equipment, all of that coming as well. So it's very like, it's not black and white like you might see like, oh my gosh, they're making so much money, but I promise you that like, yes, there's a lot of money leaving on that truck. There's also a lot of things that cost money to make that happen. So anyways, got any questions, let me know. We can dive deeper into that. Obviously we're gonna have a whole handful of trucks going, so we can talk more about it, and I'll make a video and kind of dive into more of like, how do we make money? What does that look like with ag? Because I know people are curious. Make sure that subscribe button. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. I'm adding a little bit more context based upon the comments on the previous video. So just to give context, when we have cattle ready to go, we will call our rep, which we market through Producers Livestock based out of Sioux City, Iowa-ish area. And they contact area processors to let them know that they can put us on the list. And then they will send a rep out to look at the cattle, see them in person, make sure they're finished, look at facilities, all that jazz. From there, they then will put in bids, and generally we go to the highest bidder, like that, it makes sense, right? And then from there, depending on the timeline, this last time it was like 4 days later they left. Sometimes it's a couple weeks. They line up trucking. It keeps it super easy. They give us a time, date to ship, and we send them directly to the packer, and that's where they go. So that's the whole method of madness there. During the COVID years, we were 5 weeks out. This time was the shortest it's ever been, like I said, and it was like 4 days. So it was pretty exciting stuff, but the more you know.